So good morning, everyone. Good to see all your smiling faces this morning. CBN, and we are glad to see everyone this morning. We even have pets. Looks like a cat there. I'm not real sure, but we take anybody. We don't discriminate, human, non-human. We really don't. We are after the big. We want the big shooters. Okay. Our speaker this morning will be Jeff Hire Jones with Spark Evolve. And Adele Bush was the one who referred him to us. But before we get started, I always like to do a round robin and have each one of you introduce yourselves, especially new people. And when you do your introduction, would you please state two things for me? One, your name, and two, where you are calling from. And then also, along with the introduction of what it is you do, give us just a quick referral in terms of what it is you think is a good lead for you. And that should take you about a minute and a half, 2 minutes max. So if you would, we're still going to have people dropping in. We're not going to worry about that. I'll start with myself. And my name is Keith Rand. I own a company called First Quality Printing. And a good referral for me is anyone that's interested in printed materials. I'm going to keep that moving. And with that introduction, I'm going to call you by name. I'm going to call you the way I see you on my screen. If you would give us a little introduction. So my first person up will be Andrew, please.
Morning, everyone. My name is Andrew Winnick. I'm calling in from Needham, which is just outside Boston, Massachusetts. And I work with chambers of commerce that are concerned about keeping their super networking members engaged through a pandemic. So if you know any chambers that are looking for programming ideas, I'd sure like an introduction to them because they're eager to provide engaging ways for members to connect with each other and to share ideas and opportunities. And that's gotten hard and we can't meet in person. So I have a very efficient virtual business networking program that's high energy, interactive, and very popular with the chambers I've been doing it with. So if you hear anybody who's looking for interactive virtual programming around business networking, that'd be a great introduction for me. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Andrew. Rhoda Israelov, please.
Good morning, all. I'm also here in Indianapolis, Rhoda Israelov, and I own Say It For You. And we are in the business of ghostwriting blogs and web content. And right now I am looking to connect with an office cleaning company. And if you know someone who wants to tell people why they do it better, cleaner, and more COVID antagonistic, that would be a good lead for Say It For You.
Thank you, Rhoda. Jeff, I'm going to pass on you because I'll let you do a long intro. France, if you would, please.
Yes, my name is Olivia France, and I am the owner of Supreme Staffing Solutions. I am currently assigned on a special construction project for the city and state of Indianapolis, Indiana, and I am responsible for workforce development and recruitment on that project for construction. And I've slowly had to increase my span, which now involves just about anything that anybody is looking for. So the city has allowed me to stay and help as many as I can, but I am associated with many of the organizations across the state, the reentry programs, as well as neighborhood centers, as well as special sponsors. So that's what Olivia is doing.
Thank you so much, Olivia. John Vandersall.
Good morning. From Indianapolis, Indiana. John Vandersall, residential real estate agent with FC Tucker Company. I office out of the Keystone and the Crossing branch, service Marion County and surrounding areas. And good lead for me in this very much of a seller's market is anyone who's looking to sell in the next 6 months. Specifically for the Indianapolis people, I have a buyer who's in search of a ranch style home, mostly limestone, and probably closer to Midtown would be good. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Gloria, please.
Good morning. I'm Gloria Thomas from Columbus, Ohio. My company is Secret. We have minerals from the Dead Sea. We help you look and feel your best from head to toe, inside out, outside in, with skincare and nutrition for everybody. A good lead for me this week would be anyone who wants to, anyone with skincare issues. Let's put it that way. So if you've got skincare issues, I'd like to talk to you this week. Again, Gloria Thomas with Secret from Columbus, Ohio.
Thank you, Gloria. Dr. Holliday.
Good morning. So I'm Rachel Holliday. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I own my own practice, Indie Direct Docs, doing something called direct primary care. Direct primary care is a model of healthcare where instead of billing insurance, our patients pay us a monthly membership fee. They do that to open up accessibility to us. So we see our patients on time. We see them for extended visits if needed. And we can also talk to them on the phone, text, and email with them. And we can do that all for less than $100 a month. We currently have a lot of individuals and families who are our patients. But what some of these doctors in other cities are doing is they're partnering with small business owners that want their employees to have a doctor who's going to be readily available to them to help keep them healthy so they're not missing work. So a good lead for me would be small business owners or HR people in the Indianapolis area.
Thank you. And she's going to be a speaker later on and explain her whole idea on how to deliver medical services. Jerry Luco with our friend. So please introduce our friend also.
Well, my friend is Cassie, and she's just about 8 years old. She's a rescue. I got her from a rescue center. Jerry Luco with Franchise Business Source. I help people that want to be business owners or are business owners and want to expand their portfolio, find a franchise business that they can own, grow, and love. I do really all the back office research. I spend time understanding what people are looking for and just kind of go through. I represent like 325 different companies. So I do the research, introduce them, and then hold their hand and guide them along the way. And I work with multiple experts that someone would need during that time period and introduce them to financial experts or legal experts as and when they need them. I'm actually based in Columbus, Ohio, but I work nationwide, and I can work internationally too. I've had clients from Pakistan and Jordan, and I had someone reach out from Saudi Arabia, but I didn't end up doing anything with him. So I can do international, but based here in Columbus.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Jim Shepard.
Good morning. I'm in Indianapolis, Indiana. Currently have been for 10 years. I've been retired now. Thanks to Keith, who I've been in the graphic arts or was in the graphic arts business for 40 years. And currently just enjoying retirement, but I'm still up north. I do get my second COVID shot today. So I will be going south before too long. Good morning. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Ryan, we're going to get you some lights, Mike. I'm going to pay that electric bill, baby.
Okay.
There we go.
Mike Ryan, longtime CBN member, partner with Leader Pro, provide horticulture services here in Indianapolis. Clientele stretches from downtown Indianapolis up to the far north side. Back to you.
Thank you, Mike. All right, Alex Gray.
You know, Mike looks like those guys. Remember back when the FBI was cracking down on the mob and they would come on TV once in a while? That's what he reminds back in the 80s and 90s. That's what he reminds me of.
We're going to pay his electric bill, man.
Alex Gray, currently winding down my web services business and probably converted into a domain investing business because I found out I have a lot of domains that I've collected over the years, and I'm going to try to sell those off, hopefully at a good profit. Some of them do have some value, and spend the rest of my time doing equity investments.
Thank you. And Alex is our speaker next week also. So Tim Johnson, if you would, please. And if you are not speaking, could you please mute?
Good morning, everyone. Pleasure to be here. Tim Johnson, Columbus, Ohio. I am the founder and owner of Cannabis Safety First, a company that provides ancillary services to the medical cannabis and hemp programs here in Ohio and throughout the Midwest, actually nationally. Biotech security systems, safety and security rooms, educational awareness and safety training programs as well. I'm an executive and legislative lobbyist here in Ohio, working on judicial and justice reform, drug policy reform, and the like at the State House with our legislators. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim. If we could, Adele, please.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you all. Columbus, Ohio is well represented today. I'm from Columbus as well. My name is Adele Bush. I own and operate a business, ASB Business Services, LLC. We do personalized, customized, and exclusive executive telephone outreach. We also do business research and prospect development. And my goal is to make sure that my clients have the right contacts and the right companies, and you get them in the right way before we make the phone call. Because we want to ensure that we can zero in on the decision maker that you need to speak with to give you the competitive advantage of having that conversation before your competitors do. A good referral for me would be a professional business. Anyone that seeks to keep in touch with their customers, clients, and prospects by phone, or you feel you need to, we can do that for you. We have a series of phone calls that we make for you on your behalf and represent you well on the phone. Adele Bush, ASB Business Services, LLC.
Thank you, Adele. Zach Fox, if you would, please.
No, I had to put it off mute there. So Zach Fox, Edward Jones Investments, helping people confidently plan and execute retirement. A good referral for me is a business owner that is uncertain about their business retirement plan, that is the right fit, or not certain what their costs are. So happy to go over that with any business owners at this time. It's a good time to review that.
Thank you, Zach. Mary Ann Yates. I'm giving you that full name, Mary Ann, just like when your mom would yell at you. Except now I'm going to yell at you for being on mute. Mute it.
I pressed the space bar and it didn't work. Okay. I thought that if you press the space bar that, it would stop, that it doesn't do it.
It's supposed to.
Okay, it's supposed to, but it doesn't. All right. Anyway, I'm Mary Ann Yates, and I apologize for being late. I was reading the newspaper and lost track. So how's that for being honest? And I felt I had to at least shower before I came, no matter what. But anyway, I own Elder Moves, or EM Transitions. We help the elderly we don't help just elderly. We actually help people go through transitioning moves. 50% of our clients are actually people who are above the age of 40 to 60. And then the rest of our clients are older. We also decorate. So we manage the whole entire program. We also help them resale their home in the sense that we make sure that they have the right paint colors and do enough downsizing that they can present their house in the way it needs to be presented. Our object is to spend no more than $1 if you are going to get 2 back. So we don't want to spend a fortune for you. We just want to spend enough to make sure that you get the best dollar for your home. And other than that, we're doing fine. I hope everyone's doing well. And I have my first vaccine shot. So yay.
Thank you, Mary Ann. Hey, good morning, everyone, again. Some of you guys came late. Just wanted to say, thank you so much for choosing to attend CBN this morning. As you can see, we have a lot of heads. See, Jeff is so popular. Everyone just wanted to hear Jeff. So with that, Jeff, I'm going to make this the Jeff Hire Jones show. And if you would, please go ahead and bring yourself in. Do you have a presentation? I need to make you a.
Yeah, so first, big thanks to Adele for introducing me to Keith, and for Keith being so gracious to invite me to come speak with the group today. So I'm coming from Columbus, Ohio, where the fog is finally starting to lift. My kids were hoping for a 2-hour delay or their third snow day this week, and they did not get it, which is okay. It's kind of nice to have them out of the house. I love them to death, but usually, we don't have pets, but you would probably see my 8-year-old's head pop up behind me and tap me on the shoulder when she needed something. see if you guys, can everyone see that? Hopefully I'll make it bigger.
I can see it, Jeff. So.
All right, perfect. So kind of go through and give a little bit of an introduction just about me, who I am. I like to have fun in these, so I try and keep them a little bit light. This is probably the most slides I've ever had in a PowerPoint, other than when I was in corporate America, that it seemed like we did a lot of things through, I called it death through PowerPoint, that you would sit through really long, boring, drawn out stuff. So I like to start a little bit with just about me. I think it's important for everyone to get to know me a little bit. So I threw in some of these pictures. In the middle, this is my family. So my son Jacob is in middle school this year. My daughter Allison's in 3rd grade. My wife and I have been married for 13 years now. We live just outside of Columbus and Powell. Some fun facts: we are a huge Disney family. So we've been multiple times. The kids love it. My wife did the Disney races. She's a crazy runner. She did a 5K, a half marathon, and a 10K in 3 days. And then we spent time at the parks. I slept in on all of those days. And the half marathon day, I did get up and I met at the boardwalk to see her kind of go through with my coffee in hand at about 8. Some other things down here with the Columbus Blue Jackets, our family, we're big Blue Jackets fans. We have season tickets. Those are 2 of our really dear friends that we travel with their family and do a lot of things. Over here, the kids and I this weekend, with the snow that we got, had a little fun and built a 7.5-foot tall snowman in the backyard. And we're standing on little pedestals that the kids made for us to stand up. And it's hard to tell, but we were trying to do OHIO. The final 2 pictures, this one down here is not a political statement, but I like to ski, and a friend of mine, we were skiing and they took this picture of me on the ski lift. And after the election, I got a text message with, "I did not know you were skiing with Bernie." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And they've put him on the ski lift. And the final one over here on the left is just a fun fact. So I'm not as fanatic as a runner as my wife, but I do do the occasional 5K. This was in 2016. I had a broken foot and had signed up and paid to participate in 4 races. And I got a lot of great race shots as I was on an e-scooter, and it's hard to tell, but I have a cast all the way up to the just underneath my knee in that picture. So did a number of things. I had great friends that Photoshopped kind of "what's your excuse?" They put sunglasses on me, and those showed up on different social media things, and that I was tagged in, which was a lot of fun. To go a little bit about now the professional stuff, so a little bit about me professionally. I was a former Fortune 100 executive for a very small insurance company that you might have heard of called Nationwide Insurance, that's based in Columbus, Ohio. Had a lot of roles over 19 years with that company across sales, finance, operations, project and program delivery, leadership type roles. And then when I left, I was the executive over legal and compliance operations. So I was one of very few non-lawyers that worked in the legal department. And basically my job there was running the operational side of the legal and compliance function. I've been in a lot of different industries. The majority of my professional corporate life was in insurance and financial services. And since moving out to Spark Evolve, I've done work in consumer product businesses, healthcare, professional services firms, and IT. Kind of a fun fact throughout my career, got kind of a tick mark of saving money, usually through operational efficiencies, those kind of activities. And I've got a $46 million kind of tagged to my name up until this point, which is both my corporate time and time being out on my own as a consultant. I'm also involved in the community here in Columbus. I was past board chair for a nonprofit called Central Community House that serves the Near East Side of Columbus. I've served on United Way as a campaign chair for some of their fundraising in the past, and have also been involved in some of the arts here in Central Ohio, which is a lot of fun. So a little bit about Spark Evolve. I always get the question, what does Spark Evolve do? And really our business is two halves is the way I like to talk to it. One is kind of consulting. And, the way I think about this consulting business is, it's helping business owners that have a particular issue and they might need someone from the outside to come help. So things that we typically will help with on that could be helping a business owner or leadership team with strategy, getting some alignment on, what are those big rocks other than running the day-to-day that the business needs to do to move forward. Are they planning to grow? Do they need to get more efficient? What are those kind of big things that need to be focused on? And a friend of mine once said the old saying, if you give a man a fish, he can eat for a day. If you teach a man how to fish, you can charge him a consulting fee. So that's kind of what I do on this consulting thing, is oftentimes help people, teach them how to fish and how to, develop strategies and execute or find efficiencies in their business. And a lot of times that's related to things like aligning people, process, and technology. For those of us that own businesses, when you start out, you kind of, might grab different things that are out in the marketplace to use. And as you start to grow, you realize that some of that might work against some of your processes, and you kind of, fumbling through multiple systems and manual processes and manual things, and you've got a lot of people involved in that. So that's kind of that typical work. And then I started to get into this fractional chief operating officer, kind of VP of ops on a fractional basis, actually from one of our consulting clients in 2019 came back and said, Jeff, we did a lot of strategy work for them. It was a multi-owned partnership. And they said, we've had this aha about the work that you did. We really like the strategy work. We have a roadmap. We know what we need to do. But the problem is none of us are passionate about these things we know we need to do. It was a medical practice. They were passionate about practicing medicine. They wanted to grow, the practice further, but they didn't have a kind of business-minded person on their leadership team. So the owner said, every time we get to the strategy work, we go back to talking about clinical things and we're not really making progress. So could you or would you consider being kind of a fractional executive? We can't hire someone full-time, but the team really liked what you did. Could you come in, once a month or twice a month and help us with the metrics, kind of the monthly business reviews, making sure that we're moving the strategy forward and helping our teams learn how to do some of this stuff. So that's really where the fractional COO/VP of Ops came in. And it's been a lot of fun and really rewarding. There's a lot of great things working for a large employer, but there's a lot of satisfaction that I get out of seeing the results that you can help a business owner do when you're dealing with small to mid-sized businesses that are significantly more difficult to see when you're a cog in a very big wheel of an organization. So today I thought I'd talk, based on the summary, just a little bit about how I think of the 4 stages in business and how business owners at each stage might be able to continue to operate in their zone of genius and what they really enjoy, and find ways to outsource or partner with others on the things that they don't enjoy. And that looks different at different stages. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about the what I call the start phase of the business. And there's kind of 2 components in that: starting out, run, and scale. And each one of them has about 2. And then across the bottom is mature. And really the mature thing, I put that across the bottom because it really depends on the business owner. When we talk about some of the start and the businesses that are in there, for folks that have a side hustle, that might be mature for them. They might not ever want to quit their standard, 9 to 5 employment to go be self-employed. So that business could be mature. You have someone that's self-employed, that could be mature if they don't want to grow and add staff and generate a ton of revenue if they're happy where they're at. So the bulk of where I'm going to talk is really to start, run, and scale. And the mature, kind of bleeds in each one of these, where things might look somewhat similar or somewhat different, depending upon where that business is. So to start out, a little bit about this start. So these were some interesting facts over here that I found. There's kind of two things when I think about start. There's folks that are starting out in kind of a side hustle. So usually they're the folks that have a 9-to-5 job and either have a passion for something that they're doing on the side in their free time. A lot of times that looks like one employee, revenue. These are all kind of very rough, might be between 0 to 4,000 a month. There's about 16 million people estimated to have kind of side hustles in the US today. And really one of the big things that they have is really related to time. So if you think about you're working 40 hours a week and you're trying to grow a business as a side hustle, you have probably evenings and weekends, and you probably have other obligations in the evenings and weekends as well. Sometimes, when we get people that want to make the jump from side hustle to being self-employed, that's a whole strategy in and of itself. How much revenue do you need to generate? What's your profit look like? And what do you need to be able to survive and continue to pay your bills and live your lifestyle moving to self-employed? The self-employed, typically still one employee. There's about 6 million people, and that's where I think a lot of what they get into is needing more leads. So you've got a side hustle going, but now it's how do you continue to fill up that funnel? There's different ways that I've seen people leverage outside help. So when you think about time being a component of that, there's virtual assistants. A lot of times I run into people that, well, I'm not big enough to hire someone, or I don't have the money to hire a full-time staff person. There's virtual assistants, virtual executive assistants that you can buy, so many hours a week or so many hours a month. That you might outsource some of. If you're self-employed, it might be booking appointments or handling your calendar so that you can focus on business development. It could be using someone like Adele in her business to help you do prospect development and speed up that sales cycle. Bookkeeping, taxes. I have yet to really run into a business owner, unless you went into business to be a tax advisor or a bookkeeper, that likes that stuff, right? That's something that you can outsource. You can do, website designer, a social media manager. There's, a big movement right now with this idea of social selling and using social media to do this. You might hate that. I'm not a fan of Facebook. LinkedIn, I'm getting better at and more comfortable on that, but there's people that can help do that. Specific to Spark Evolve, where we've kind of played in this space a little bit, is more on the consulting side. So last year, there was about a half a dozen accounts that we helped. People that were going from side hustle, being kind of their own self-employed, person on the side, to saying, I'm thinking about making this jump, but I don't know what kind of legal structure I should put in place. I've heard things that, being an LLC is better than just having people pay me direct and those kind of things. So we've done some help for about a half a dozen folks, just getting that legal entity and some of the governance stuff set up, so they can open a bank account under their company name, get a federal EIN, kind of walk through what some of the different structures are. Help some folks in strategy. A couple people last year that were thinking about moving from side hustle to self-employment, thinking through how would they do that and how would they ramp up that business and what would that exit strategy from their 9-to-5 look like, and what would they need to get and milestones that they would need to achieve to be able to make that switch. A lot of times these outside sources can be, hourly or fixed fee based. Hourly, if anyone's hired a lawyer in the past, that's typically how they bill, and you'll get bills for a quarter of an hour. If you have a phone call, that's sometimes how that hourly stuff works. My bias is always the fixed fee, especially when you're in this starting, kind of side hustle, self-employed. If you can get very clear on what you need and the outcomes that you need, from folks that are doing your books or social media, and get an agreement on how many posts that looks like. I always prefer to try and go for the fixed fee on those because, as a small business owner, you can have some certainty on what your bills are, and it helps drive just some results overall where, you don't have this variable, cost month to month or week to week. A little bit about the run. So run, this is, where you're starting to hire staff. You might have 2 to 3 people on the early stages of that, potentially 100 to 300,000 in revenue a year. There's about 1.7 million small businesses that have 2 to 3 staff members. This is where you get into, you probably need a lot more sales coming into that funnel to pay for the staff and your overhead and your expenses. And then you get into the steady state, which, could be 4 to 10. Again, these are just rough, 300,000 to $1 million in revenue. There's about 1.9 million businesses there. Marketing, thinking about how you're going to service clients after that sales start to become things that you've got to consider. Really, when you get into run, some of these same things, bookkeeping, payroll is another thing that becomes a little bit bigger on how are you going to handle that, whether you're going to outsource it or do it in-house. There's a lot of additional tax things and filings that go along with having payroll. So oftentimes people will use a payroll company and or what they call a PEO, I'm drawing a blank what it means, but kind of this provider organization. It's like outsourced HR that also handles payroll, could be strategic HR, tactical HR, employee relations. Tax at this stage is probably something, if you don't have a good tax advisor or CPA, you'd probably want to invest in that. Sales and marketing has some outsourced stuff. Starting to get my mid-morning halo. There we go. Sales and marketing, outsourced HR, again, are some things. Usually in this stage, we'll do more with strategy planning. This is where the company's bigger than a bread box. The owner can still kind of oversee and control because the staff isn't massive, and they can still be involved in a lot of things. But this is where I've really found that aligning people, process, and technology can have an impact from an efficiency perspective. So when you move from being a single owner and doing kind of everything yourself, and you're doing what is most efficient for you, and now you have multiple people that are in trying to replicate what you do. This is where we start to see some opportunities on, how do we get that end-to-end process kind of mapped out on from the sales process through delivery, who's involved in the business, even though it's not hundreds of people yet, but who's involved, what decision points are there? Are there bottlenecks that might be there because a lot of things are still being run through the owner? Could we put better, processes and procedures in place where the folks doing the work can get through some of this more quickly and only certain things need to be escalated to the owner? We'll get into some of that fractional COO here. What I would say is, if you're newly hiring staff where we've worked with clients before, is typically that fractional COO work is a little bit more advisory in nature. So it's working one-on-one with the owner. It might be a half day to a whole day a month, and it might be helping with some business reviews, executing on the strategy, but the team's kind of doing the work and the owner's, still really involved in driving a lot of the day-to-day work. Again, these are hourly, fixed fee, project-based. You can usually get these outside services for. Sometimes you'll see things with a success fee. It's not super frequently because a lot of times the provider of the services, if you think about, they're also taking on some of the risk along with the business owner. So sometimes the business owner might pay less for the services, but if certain milestones are met, the provider gets bonuses, that could almost be like a kicker to what their lower fees are. And then at times you might see some equity-based things depending upon how companies are set up. If they're LLCs and they have some shares that aren't in the open marketplace because it's a privately held company, but there might be some revenue-based things that an owner might do. A lot of times you see this in some of the tech, startups and companies in particular, where they don't have a lot of capital to bring in experts from the outside. But sometimes it's a bit of a chicken and an egg. We might need a CFO because we're going after funding for our business, but we can't afford a CFO salary. That someone that's done this, been here and done this year over year. So there might be a smaller, payment for those services with some sort of equity or ownership in the company. And that I would say is a little bit on the risky side for the provider because if you look at the stats of the number of businesses that don't make it 5 years, they're putting a lot of their services online that they may never get paid on. But you look at some of, at least in Central Ohio, some of these unicorns that have come out of these fundings. On the flip side of that, if you place your bets right, you could have a massive payday at some point in the future. It's just a little bit of it's almost like going to Vegas. The odds are stacked against you a little bit, but if you want to roll the dice every once in a while, you might have some success there overall. And then finally, kind of on the scale thing, this is where it really gets fun. So, it could be you're moving into a 7-figure business, you have 11 or more employees and you start to get this growth. And this is really where there's kind of what I call transformation for the business owner. You can't possibly be involved in everything day to day when you're at this, you get to this scale as a business. It's just, I won't say it's impossible, but typically when we run into business owners that are kind of going at it alone still at this phase, they're at I'm feeling overworked, overwhelmed. I'm questioning, why do I even own a business? This is taken away from my family time, other commitments, and I am just not having fun anymore. And this is a fun space for me to work in. You've got a lot of outsourced fractional leaders. I've noticed, the idea of a fractional chief financial officer, I think, has been around for a while. And people are pretty familiar with that concept. But there are now fractional sales leaders that can help you set up sales teams that can lead the sales team 1 day a week, half a day a week, a couple days a month. Folks like me that do kind of the operational things. You can have HR fractional leaders. So there's a lot of options when you get in here that, you don't have to hire people full-time and carry salary benefits and incentive comp payments to get really deep experts in to help, you as the business owner kind of drive your business forward. This is, like I said, a lot of fun for me because the stuff that I love to do is the operational stuff. So when you think about the processes, being the integrator and working with folks that might be doing the CFO or the bookkeeping, the HR, the outsourcing, and kind of being that person that helps the owner put all these things together. A lot of times owners that I love working for are the visionaries that have the vision and they have the strategy, and then it's a matter of how do you take their vision and strategy and build it down so it can be executed throughout the organization, and being that thought partner to that business owner, founder is for me a significant amount of fun because I don't like I can do the visionary stuff, but that's not where I'm at my best. It's taking and working with someone that's really good at that as a business owner and has been very successful to this point, and helping them continue that success by kind of taking the reins for some of the operational things. These operational things sometimes get away from the advisory in nature. They might be, being in the business a day, half day, a week. Some businesses, I'll go in and actually lead the team that's doing some of these operational things where the business owner says, hey, I really love the sales and marketing aspect of my business and meeting with clients and getting deals signed. I don't want to deal with, issues on the back end on why something didn't get delivered on time. This stuff drains me. I don't want to deal with it. These HR issues, this finance reviews, like looking through and sifting through reports and trying to figure out what we're doing. I want someone to come in and do that and help set the direction in conjunction with me on the vision and where we're bringing the organization. So a lot of these, fractional COO could be leading the team, not leading the team, hosting monthly business reviews. So a part where I'll play is kind of getting the finance folks, whoever's doing that, whether it's in-house or outsourced, HR, and kind of coordinating all this stuff together to help the owner get a really good view of a scorecard on what's driving their business, how it's performing, what do we need to adjust or course correct, and helping to keep the team aligned to where the owner wants to take it. This is where you can also really start to have some impact with the operational efficiency reviews and looking for more efficient ways to work. That's always a lot of fun when you get in as being the outsider. Sometimes it's a lot easier to see that forest through the trees when you're not living in all the day-to-day, where everyone feels like this is the way it's always been, which is like nails on a chalkboard when I hear that, but really getting in and starting to question and peel apart the onion, so to speak, on some of these things. And will tell me a little bit more about why this is the way that it's always been. And here are some pain points. And have you thought about doing things this way? And that's a lot of fun. Again, these arrangements can be fixed fee, projects based. Some of the HR stuff, sometimes we'll do it on a headcount basis. If you have outside payroll or HR, so much per employee gets you, this menu of services. You can still get into some equity deals at this point, and there is hourly. My bias is always not to do hourly because I think it doesn't drive the right behaviors on both sides from the business partner or the business owner. But there are times where that is a good arrangement. If there's really no clarity on what the outcomes are and, the number of hours can be a roller coaster ride, it's really hard to do that on a fixed fee basis. But most of the agreements that we have through Spark Evolve are all fixed fees. I believe in if we can get the scope of work set appropriately and aligned to the outcomes that we're driving, Spark Evolve can give a fixed fee for that business owner. Now, where it does get a little bit challenging in managing those is when the scope of work changes, but you want the same cost and the scope of work goes up. Usually those are discussions around, okay, this is really great, and yes, we can do that, but here's what the increased cost is going to be because of the amount of work that goes up. But I'm a huge fan of doing those fixed fees, especially in the small to middle business market, where having some consistency on knowing this is what you're getting every month, totally just makes sense, I think. And it's a lot easier for the business owner to plan. The hourly stuff, I always knock that, and equate it to, if you've ever called a lawyer and had a 15-minute call and you got a bill for a quarter of an hour, and it's like, really, did I really need to get billed for that? Wasn't there a more effective way to maybe handle this? And I think sometimes I've had some clients that have asked for that because that's what they're familiar with and used to. And the way that I describe it, for them is I think it drives not great behavior sometimes. If there's something that you need, you should call and talk to me about, and you're worried about what a bill might look like, you might wait until the next time we meet, and that might be too late. Maybe we really should have course corrected earlier than the next time I was scheduled to be in. And I think on the flip side for, someone on my side, it also helps you to be accountable on making sure that you're being efficient with your time for that client and you're finding ways to operate your business. Spark Evolve, eat my own dog food, right? And how can I be more efficient in how I deliver services to clients? Because, on this fixed fee, if it's going to take me twice as long as I thought, I'm not efficient. I'm not going to make as much on that. Versus if I can be efficient and still give good quality outcomes, you can make more through that side kind of an arrangement. So I feel like I've talked a ton, so I will take the sharing down so I can see everyone. And what questions, thoughts, comments, feedback do you guys have?
Hey, first off, let me say thank you for taking the time and presenting this morning. And I always take notes during these things because having been a small business owner and mid-size and then, been up and down. So here was my first thought. Most small business owners' strategy is keep going, work hard, and pray. That's most of our strategies. And so when you talk about bringing in fractional professionals, that's kind of I won't say new concept, but that might be a foreign concept to some small business owners. Discuss just the psychology of how you introduce that concept so that you could convince Marianne, hey, you need a fractional professional. How's that work?
Yeah, great question. So oftentimes I typically don't jump right into the fractional. Now, there are occasional times that I've had clients that have said, they don't use fractional. They usually say, we're looking for a part-time COO. We want someone like a day a week or a half a day, and here's an idea of what we want someone to do. Those are, I'd say, really easy discussions to have because typically that business owner has already done a little bit of research. They know what they need. They've got a budget set aside and they're just looking for the right person. Oftentimes where this will start, the fractional work is usually through some sort of a project-based thing where the business owner says, you know what, I really could use help with someone from the outside helping with kind of what's the strategy. I've done this working hard, praying, things are working, but now I'm kind of at this point where, I don't know whether or not I want to continue to get bigger or what to do. And I don't really have someone to talk to, that could help me kind of figure this out. So oftentimes what I'm finding is it starts with sometimes that strategy and roadmap. Like, okay, we've gotten to this point and we've been really successful, but I don't know that I can work any harder and pray any harder to get more results. So sometimes the business owner might have hit a plateau, right? Where things are kind of stagnant, and they want more for their business, but they're unsure how to get it. Usually those we'll go in and do on a fixed fee basis. So usually there's some discussion before we even talk about, how a deal might look for a business owner. So usually it's a couple meetings before we even get to that, like, here's kind of a plan. So I'll spend time with the business owner, usually for, at first, a 30-minute consultation just to hear a little bit about the pain. What are they trying to do, to figure out, are we going to be a good fit to help them? Or is there someone else in my network that might be a better fit for the pain that they're experiencing that's kind of outside of our wheelhouse? And then from there, usually it's another discussion with kind of a more formal proposal on, okay, here's what we heard, kind of the thoughts, feelings, the things that are going on in the business. Here's a couple options that we have on how we could help you with this. And then it's really a discussion around those particular options that we're proposing. And sometimes we have owners that say, I like option one and some things in option B. Could we try and merge those and create like a hybrid option? And what would that look like? And then typically from there, usually it's kind of a strategy and roadmap is where that typically starts. And we'll go through and kind of set this up. And then after that strategy and roadmap, and here's how to move this forward as a business owner, there's really typically three options, right? One is the business owner says, great, I'm more of a DIYer. I like the HGTV, doing my own projects. This is what I need. And I'm off to the races. Like, this is exactly what I needed. Typically, I'll still do a couple check-ins just to make sure, everything, they were excited when the work was delivered. Are they still excited a month out? And are they making good progress? So we'll do that. The second option could be where the owner says, you know what, this is really good. And these items I've got between myself and my staff, I can handle these. This one particular one, would you be able to come in and do a project to help us deliver this? Because we don't have the expertise for this particular piece, or we have a particular process that we really need to do a deep dive on and figure out how to get it more efficient. And then the third option is really that fractional COO, and that's kind of the owner that oftentimes is at the point where, I find they're self-aware and it's like, I can't do all this and I really don't like this stuff, but I know I need to do it. And I'd rather work really hard and pray really hard on these things that I'm really good at and not do this other stuff that it drains me. But I know it's things that need to be done to move the business forward. So yeah, it's kind of the psychology. It just depends, where that business owner is. We've had some folks that have been more the do-it-yourselfers, and 3-4 months down the line, they come back. Sometimes it's not a fractional, sometimes it's another project-based thing, which is great. And then sometimes they do come back and it's like, okay, this is a little bit more than we can chew by ourselves, and we're realizing that because we're not making the progress that we had expected to make.
Not a problem. Who else has got any other questions? France, Olivia.
My question is, to assist these small businesses, has it typically been for you to help them in the beginning after they've opened, or when they have a fear of closing?
That is a great question. And it really depends, to be honest. So when I look at last year, we had some folks that were looking to go out on their own or just starting out. We had some folks that were kind of, I had another business that was doing well. But one of the things that they realized was their client onboarding through delivery of services took them an enormous amount of time. And they wanted to continue to do better, and they were getting more clients, but they couldn't keep up because of how long that chain took. And then I've had a few, one in particular that comes to mind that was kind of at that, I'm, successful, but I'm kind of at my wit's end because I am so stressed and things are not going well in the business that I'm thinking about closing it, but I don't want to. So really it kind of depends on where that business owner is. And sometimes it's, I find it's about the aha too. Sometimes people have the aha later, where if they had it earlier, there might have been more that we could have done, to help them getting the results. So, it really just depends.
If it depends, which would you think would be best?
Best would be when things are going well and you want to continue things to go well.
Okay.
I think the second part of that would be, when things are starting to not go well, don't wait until you're losing a bunch of money to try and bring in experts to help, because it's going to take capital to bring people in, and sometimes you get in that chicken and an egg. And then on the front side, sometimes it makes sense, but again, if capital's tight, it might not make sense. You can kind of do these things on your own.
We'll take one more question. Jerry, if you would, please.
Yeah, Jeff, you talked about side hustle to self-employment. Do you ever do work with people that are like, I'm thinking about starting a bit? They're not even at the side hustle stage, but they're trying to figure out if they can be successful with a particular business. Do you do kind of like an independent review of the potential of a business?
So I don't get in much on that front end that early. I've had a couple people that have reached out. Typically, if someone has a bit of a business plan and they've kind of done the research and are ready to make the jump, we can help getting some of the legal entity stuff done and getting that set up. I had one person in particular that had really no idea, was thinking, they had family members that own business and kind of trying to probe, like, what do you want to, I don't know, I just want to own a business. And, I was pretty upfront with the person. I said, look, if I were you, I would not hire a consultant or anyone at this stage to help you, because you're going to spend a whole lot of money and I don't know what you're going to get out of it, to be honest. So, some of that in the upfront consultation was, here are some things that you need to do some soul searching on first, before you hire someone. I mean, you need to have at least some idea of what are you passionate about? What would you like to do? And then some high level, what's the market look like for that? Is it a franchise that you just are going to buy? Is it starting from scratch? What is it that you want to even start to do? And then oftentimes I think that it's, really about can you set that up as a side hustle and see how viable it is? Test and learn. You don't got to spend a whole bunch of money setting up LLCs and things unless there's, I'm not a lawyer, but unless there's a whole lot of liability, if you're going to sell paintings, is what you want to do. I don't know that I'd spend the money out of the gate doing an LLC and doing all this stuff. Go test it out and see what happens. And then, if it really starts to take off and you want to shield yourself from liabilities and things, you can always do kind of the governance stuff at a later point. So yeah, it's sometimes that's the free, I call it the free advice, like to keep you from spending money you probably shouldn't be spending yet. Advice. So great question.
Not a problem. Not a problem. Hey, we're getting close to wrapping this up. Wow, this conversation could go on for a lot longer. Unfortunately, we try to be respectful of all you guys' time. Jeff, we may have to invite you back a little later, but with some more specific questions. Just so that we're aware, next week, Alex will be our presenter. Alex, give us a smile. Alex always gives me the gas face here. And we'll be talking about some economics issues. Me and Alex always talk about policy because policy makes differences for small businesses. Just a couple of quick things before we close out here. I got all my little notes written here. So we got, okay, check your calendars. I send your calendars out. I've sent you out earlier that we'll start sending them through MailChimp. And the reason is that header that was having 100 people on it, I was running into issues of both, some of it was going into spam when you send those headers out. So that we had to cut that out. And then last but not least, hey, thank you guys so much for your referrals. We are booked up through May. So, wow, thank you so much. As usual, my two leaders, Rhoda and Adele. So the rest of us need to get on top of it, find some referrals. And I keep saying every week, at least one customer so they can be your referral. With that, it's 9:30. We are going to wrap this thing up. I want to say goodbye and see all you guys next week. Same bat place, same bat time, right? 9:30 next week. All right, I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.